For the next segment, we have an AMA session with one of the biggest names in online gaming today in India, Nitish Mitra Sen from Nazara Technologies. So Nitish will speak about the various facets of online gaming, especially in the Indian context. He will
네,
delve
그래서
deeply.
총 4개의 기업의 IRPG 함께 하셨습니다. 마지막 그 모바일 쇼팅 액션 게임 주식회사 크랩까지
He will delve deeply into his inspiration and success across Nazara's journey to becoming India's largest online gaming company. Indeed, Nitish is truly a role model to all the startup founders listening today that dreams do come true if you work persistently towards it. So do share your questions in the chat box and we will see if we can weave in a question or two in the story that Nitish will tell us. So though he needs no introduction, I will take a minute to introduce him all the same. Hailing from a traditional textile family, Nitish disrupted the status quo by boldly venturing into online gaming, an unexplored sector, especially in India during the 90s. He set up Nazara at the tender age of 19 when most people haven't even decided their career paths. Since then, the Nazara Group has only grown exponentially and has persevered over 2 decades and emerged as India's leading gaming company with operations across 70 countries. They have also acquired and invested in over 15 companies in various sectors of gaming, including esports, fantasy sports, premium games. Under his leadership, the company also raised USD 100 million from marquee investors. And as we hear, they will soon list on the bourses, which is actually a first for an Indian company in this sector. So there are many firsts in Nazara's journey. Nitish has been the chairman of the Mobile Value Added Services Expert and on the Asia board of MEF and has been widely recognized for his contribution to gaming and digital entertainment industry internationally. He has also been recently awarded with Business World Disrupt 40 Under 40 Achievers Awards. So indeed, it's an honor and privilege to have you here, Nitish. Welcome to the MA Online Gaming Summit, and we look forward to this evening with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. Looking forward.
Sure.
Shivang.
I think, Nitish, as a starting point, the audience is very, very keen on knowing how you embarked on this uncharted territory way back in your teens. Who inspired you? Maybe some incidents that you can share around that, and what inspires you to actually drive Nazara into the success that it is.
Sure. So, very quick background. I come from a textile family background. Um, got into computers and gaming at a very young age. My dad bought me a ZX Spectrum when I was 6 years old, and I started coding my first games when I was 7. So, really, from textiles to gaming, I kind of pivoted at a age of 6 or 7, and since then, the last 30 years, it's been kind of a passion that I've been pursuing, both personally and of course in work and business as well. The early years when I was in school and growing up, the internet was coming to India in the early 90s. My mentor, my long-term mentor, the legendary Shammi Kapoor, who was one of the pioneers in the internet, encouraged me a lot to do something more interactive or something more serious in this space, and that's really how I got into it. So inspiration, of course, parents always encouraged me. Shami Kapoor pushed me a lot, and here I am 30 years later still in the gaming business.
Nitish, that's very kind of you to list it out like that. I think a question would then be that how did you achieve this kind of international success? Because what we've seen right now is that there are a lot of gaming companies, new startups which are coming up in India. Maybe if you can run them through your journey in terms of when you founded Nazara, I think the scenario was very different. It was just the internet had newly come into the scene, and in the Indian scene especially, it was a very rare thing for somebody to even have an internet connection. To
Yeah.
how it's still relevant in this age of smartphones, and how you've transformed, and what are the things that you've done in this journey to ensure that Nazara remains the success that it is.
Sure. I think what we started in 98, 99, 2000. The dot-com crash happened, burnt our fingers very badly. Took 3, 4 years to come back to kind of a clean slate. Uh, Persevered again in 2004, 2005. to pursue this opportunity. But gaming really took off in India only in 2008 2009 with the advent of Android phones and better data connectivity. So the early years, it was always like a mirage in a desert. Every year you felt gaming will take off the next year, and then when you came to next year, you felt it's the year after. So I think we spent many years like that trying to do interesting work, but it was not monetizing. The scale was not there. So I think perseverance helped us, or maybe we didn't know what else to do, right? I had always been in that space, so that's all I knew what to do. And we kept persevering. I think also my early experiences in the dot-com crash taught me a few things. Don't chase vanity metrics, because that's very tempting, but it can, if the winds that are blowing, the positive winds that are blowing turn negative, then you're kind of stuck. I'm personally very averse to any kind of debt. Uh, Again, for certain businesses, certain people whose DNA works for that, debt may be a very good thing from a capital deployment point of view. But I'm personally very averse to it. And during such periods like the pandemic, right, when something so big happens, having a slightly conservative approach, I think, helps. For us, the biggest thing has been that we've always tried to focus on positive cash flows. We've been profitable since 2007 now, so 13 years we've been profitable year on year. So focusing on positive cash flows, real businesses is, I think, what's allowed us to sustain for a long period of time when the business really didn't exist or didn't monetize well enough. And as the common saying goes, right, you live to fight another day. As long as you're alive, you can still, figure something out. That's what we are even doing today.
Right, absolutely. I think across businesses, especially one thing that the pandemic has taught us is that cash is king. If you have cash in the bank, if you have a runway, you can actually make it through any situation. So maybe since we actually spoke of the pandemic, maybe if you can throw some light on the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the gaming industry as a whole. A lot of people are seeing this as a launch pad, as a pivot point, some sort of inflection that has come maybe early. So is this something that you think is here to stay, which the growth that people are getting, they can capitalize on it, or do you have a different view to the whole
Shivangi,
situation?
can you please summarize that question, because my connection had broken for a minute? And
Sure. So the
can I
summary
can
is,
can I
yeah.
also request all the people putting in the questions, if they can also leave their email addresses? If I can't answer all the questions right now, I'll respond to them on email.
Sure, Nitish. We'll collate it and we'll send it
Yeah,
across to you.
sure, sure.
So, Nitish, my
Okay.
question was briefly around the COVID pandemic. I know it's come a little early in the conversation, but since we're discussing it
Sure,
and it is the topic around,
sure.
a lot of people are seeing COVID as a pivot in the journey of the online gaming industry as a whole. They
Mhm.
believe that it's our day, which has come a little earlier than we had actually predicted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, if you could shed some light on the actual impact on the industry as a whole, and also more specifically, what are the strategies that Nazara evolved around this to actually capitalize on the opportunity?
Sure. So I think this decade, we've been in the business for 2 decades already, and we very strongly believe that this decade of 2020s is really going to be the decade of gaming in India. I think from a business perspective, as well as from a consumption perspective, as well as product and innovation perspective, you're going to see very rapid strides every year in this industry, which will dwarf many other industries which have been very popular in India, like Bollywood, for example, in entertainment. I think gaming will be much, much larger than Bollywood in the next, not decade, I would say, the next 2, 3 years only. So I think we are head, irrespective of COVID or not, we were headed down that path in any case. And that's
Absolutely.
because of macro level issues, right? The data connectivity, the scale of population or the user base that you have here, the Android devices, and better content. So I think that's a path that we were already on. COVID, the pandemic, has only kind of helped push it along a bit, accelerated it a bit. And I think more than the consumption pattern. Of course, people were sitting at home. What will they do, right? They will do Netflix. They will do gaming. Hopefully, they will read some books also. But that's what we are doing sitting at home. So
Right.
obviously there was a spike in consumption. I think a lot of people who are not gaming also would have spent some time trying it out because they had so much more time on hand. So maybe you had new converts, get into the universe of gamers. So I think those things have happened in COVID for sure. Life is coming back to normal, and it will also, that spike will kind of normalize.
Mhm.
But I think it's been a great time for gaming companies. But I think everybody needs to have their head down and just focus on the years ahead. Obviously, you don't want something like a pandemic to be leveraged for your business per se. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Sure, Nitish. So I think some of the comments that I have heard from some of our startup founders and also from the industry is that India is known to get gaming companies their numbers in terms of the download and other metrics, but the real money doesn't come from India. So as a
yeah,
gaming company, you have to seek the numbers from India and the cash elsewhere. So
yeah.
are you seeing a shift in this kind of trend with COVID, or do you see this persisting still?
So if you look at the global, just to put perspective on some numbers, right? Globally, the mobile gaming industry, I think, is about 70-80 billion dollars today. uh, India, that mobile gaming industry, if I were to leave out the real money skill based gaming business, is much smaller, maybe $500 million or even smaller than that, right? So it's what, 2% of the global gaming industry in terms of monetization. However, in terms of downloads, I think now we are number one in terms of downloads of games on phone, or maybe number two or number one, right? So you can see that big disconnect, right? We are in the top one or two by downloads, but we are
Right.
maybe 2 or 3% in terms of contribution of revenue.
Absolutely.
Now, depending on your approach to life, you can look at it as glass half full or half empty, right? So I think one way to look at it is that Indians will not spend on gaming, which is something I've heard for the last 20 years since I started this company. But I think it's also the fact that Indian gamers are mobile first gamers. Look, in many other countries like US, China, etc., where you see a lot of monetization on gaming, they've had a lot of exposure to PC based gaming or console based gaming, multiplayer gaming. Most Indians were mobile first, right? So the first experience
Absolutely.
of gaming has come in the last decade, mobile
Mhm.
first. The first experience has been very casual in nature. They're experimenting, trying out a lot of games. But I'm seeing the trend of higher engagement in specific games, whether you take it like PUBG or you take our own games like World Cricket Championship. The amount of time spent in these games is significantly increasing, and that is leading to monetization. Indian developers still need to catch up, and including us, Indian developers still need to catch up a lot on the game design in terms of economy
Mhm.
to monetize better for in-app purchases. But we will get there, and this industry will have huge headroom to grow in terms of monetization.
Right. Sure. So when we've spoken about the upside and the opportunity, are there any downsides that you have seen as a result of this pandemic, whether it is in the nature of your audience or in terms of the revenues, any negative metrics that you are seeing?
I think you can look at it from two perspectives. If you see, are people spending excess time on gaming? I've got two young kids, and I hear it from my wife every morning, right? That the kids are being spoiled because of you. So if that's the case, I'm sure the parents have to balance it out to a
Sure.
certain extent and moderate it to a certain extent.
Hmm.
Uh, but of course, in the pandemic, what do you do, right? It's an exceptional situation. Uh, it's a one-time situation, hopefully. Uh,
Absolutely.
but yeah, I think from personal perspective, some regulation in terms of the amount of time spent, because this can be very addictive.
Right.
And we've seen in like a cricket game, top 5% spend many hours a day in that game.
Hmm.
We verified that they are not kids, but
Okay.
more likely shopkeepers and people like that.
Right.
From a responsible gaming perspective, we ourselves
Mhm.
and checked, who are these people spending 5-6 hours a day.
Absolutely.
But that was okay. So I think responsible gaming to a certain extent will be
Mhm.
important in
Okay.
countries like China, where it's the engagement is much higher. They've actually, with very addictive games, put in some kind of restrictions in terms of time
Okay.
spent and all.
Sure.
Very early days in India, we are nowhere close to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, from a business perspective, I think generally it's been a great year for gaming businesses in India. Not only in India but anywhere in the world. So I really can't see anything negative from a
Sure.
business perspective.
Absolutely. So Nitish, then the question comes up is in terms of emerging trends. What are the trends that you're seeing in terms of consumption? Whether it is your audience mix or their taste in games, the kind of games that are now gaining popularity, or even the geographic. Is there a geographic metric to that also?
It's a very wide-ranging question, so difficult to be very specific in answer.
Right.
But I think if I were to look at it from an India market perspective, I think your
Right.
consumers are evolving
Mm-hmm.
very quickly from a very casual consumer to maybe the top 10, top 20% consumers are getting into slightly more mid-core games.
Okay.
The top 10% are getting interested in esports. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of the youngsters, I see school kids talking about all these game streamers on YouTube whose names I have not even heard of, and they
Right.
are they are the stars for them. So I think from a mindset perspective, it's picking up very fast. And when you talk to kids in like fifth, sixth, seventh standard also,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's all about gaming, right? That's the biggest thing for them.
Sure.
So I see that as a universal trend and as a really big trend, because also the kids of this age, right,
Mm-hmm.
are now all digital first kids. When I say digital first, what I mean is when we grew up, like when I grew up, obviously digital is something that came maybe when I was 15 or 20 or whatever, right? But
Right.
these kids have all grown up from the day they are born. They're playing with iPads and all.
Mm-hmm.
So their whole approach to this, for them, it's hygiene. The
Absolutely.
digital experience is hygiene, and strong entertainment through gaming, the social connectivity that's happening, is
Right.
very integral and core to their part. That's a big
Sure.
trend I'm seeing.
Right. I think Nitish, we're moving on to some talk about how if an entrepreneur wishes to embark on this journey, since we are an angel investing platform and we do have a lot of upcoming founders who are part of the audience, what is the advice that you would give them in terms of how they should structure their journey? What are the things that they should look for? And even from an investor's perspective, what is the investor seeking when they're looking at a gaming company? Because this is a conversation that you've been having day in and day out. So
Yeah.
I think your insights would be very valuable for them.
I think it's not rocket science. It's right. It's very simple. It comes back to the very obvious things like product engagement. If you have a product that is engaging the users, you will be able to monetize it. See, the
Mhm.
problem is in spaces like mobile gaming, the amount of choice that the consumer has is humongous. There are new games out there globally. In India, you can be downloading games from all over the world. So to that extent, it's a very competitive space. So you have to either be able to localize and provide something that's locally relevant to the consumer, and you can do it well, or you can have an insight that you're a first mover advantage there. Ludo King is a big example, right? It's been such a big hit in India,
Right.
emerging right from here. So I think either you have some edge like that. But I remember seeing Ludo King, and I don't know whether the founder Vikash will like me talking about it, but I remember him showing when he was starting off. He came to our office and he showed us. He opened the Google Analytics and showed us retention rates of his game.
Yeah, the app, yes.
And I actually remember sending an email to my CEO Manish and saying, "Boss, this doesn't look like believable stuff. So do you think he's hacked it, or it is what is it?" It was like some 60% day 30 retention, some crazy metric.
Right, that's
So
crazy.
of course, it had a crazy metric and it has a crazy success. But I'm saying that could be a runaway hit. But I think
Mm-hmm.
finally, if your product is not having basic engagement metrics, right,
Mm-hmm.
retention, time spent, virality,
Mhm.
then it's going to be impossible. You can spend money trying to acquire users, etc.
Right.
You will never monetize.
Sure. So when we're speaking of monetizing, I think it would be prudent of us to even look at various models. I think India is a key player for the freemium model, which you are very successfully capitalized on. But what are the other models that essentially a gaming company can look at in terms of revenues?
See, in India, the biggest model today from a monetization perspective is real money gaming, right? For skill.
Right. Absolutely.
So whether it's fantasy sports or whether it's Rummy or all of these are monetizing the maximum. They're not, I don't know if you call them freemium or whatever you call them, is for real money, and that model has really dwarfed all the other models that are around.
Hmm.
I think I'll give you another example. We have a product called Kidopia, in
Okay.
the which is catering to kids between the age of 2 to 8.
Okay.
Extremely popular right now in the US. It was the fifth most popular app game for that target audience in this year in the US,
Hmm.
by paid subscription. That runs on a subscription model. So you download
Okay.
for free, and then you
Hmm.
can subscribe on and pay a monthly fee for it. Has 18 months LTV or close to that,
Okay.
lifetime of the consumer,
Hmm.
and again high engagement. So the drop offs are very low. So subscription could be another model.
Okay.
uh, Brands and advertising are always an option, but in markets like India, the monetization is still very low. The fill rates are very low, the eCPMs are very low. So
Right.
little bit of a challenge in terms of getting the LTV CAC equation right purely on advertising models.
Right.
But it's evolving fast.
Sure. So when we talk about marketing and advertising, I think the follow-through question naturally is that as a gaming company, what are the marketing models that one can adopt to successfully create brand and hence retention?
Advertise on IPL, I guess.
I think most startups would not have the budget for that, Nitish. I think that's everybody's dream, but
Right. I think you have to growth hack, right? I'm also not fond of advertising on IPL, so I'm pushing my team continuously to find ways to growth hack.
mhm,
In terms of how can you put in those hooks within your game? If your game is engaging, can you give something to your users for which they need to, bring their friends in, to increase your virality? I think word of mouth is a great. I can see one question also asking about referrals.
right.
We've seen some great success in a fantasy sports
Mhm,
company, Hala Play, which grew to almost 10 million users purely on referrals, which were working very well in the last 2 3 years. Very little over the air advertising, but did very well on referrals. But you need to give something of value to the consumers
right.
to really get them to, do the referral. So that could be a good strategy. A lot of opportunity now with all these social influencers and all. We haven't had great success yet
Right.
using influencers, but I think we've not done it correctly. I think there's
Mhm,
a lot that can be done over there.
right.
Uh, and finally, a good product picks up. I think
Sure.
again, Ludo King is a great example. I mean, where has he done anything?
Absolutely. It just picked up and it's been around
Yeah.
since then. So I think from an investor's perspective, since we also represent an investor network, I think there is a question also in the chat box. Is this actually a good time for investors to take a bet on gaming companies?
Ye- yeah, I mean, my IPO lawyers have me bound you with what I can say and not, and this is a sticky
Okay,
question when
sure.
it comes
So
to
if I
that.
talk about startups,
But
if I specifically talk about startups, new startups,
but I think like I said earlier, the gaming industry, this is the decade for gaming in India. I have no two doubts about it, and it's
right?
not something that's going to happen in the future. We're already experiencing it, so we're already in the middle of it, or at the start of it.
Hmm.
So I think from that perspective, obviously for investors, it's a great opportunity, but you need to be able to discern the team, the product, the concept, because it's very easy to get into a Me Too kind of trap,
Absolutely.
or not have a product that can really scale or monetize. So
Hmm.
I think there's a lot over there and a lot of opportunity. It's great to see so many startups now coming into this space.
Absolutely.
So I think love to see angel investors back as many gaming companies as possible.
That's great. That's very encouraging. I hope the investors are listening out there that this is the time.
Gaming startups as possible.
Yes, gaming startups, absolutely. We're an angel investing platform. We focus only on startups. We only talk about
Correct.
investing in relation to startups. That's what we are
Right.
talking about. So, Dinesh, I think we've covered a very wide variety. I think one interesting question which keeps coming to you, I'm sure, very often, is that you are compared to Tencent. So, any thoughts on that? Very often you're compared.
No, I don't know. I think obviously from a scale perspective, there's no
Right.
comparison. But I think we've built our own model. We've not looked at any specific model like Tencent or anybody else. We
Mhm.
built our own model. We evolved over 2 decades, so it's not. We started with a very specific concept, 2 years back. It's a output of an evolution. We
Right.
are still evolving, and hopefully we will be able to build something meaningful. We have close to 100 million users on our network today a month, and growing fast, and we are as excited as we were 20 years back.
I think that's very, very important for the entrepreneurs listening out there. It's only if you maintain your initial enthusiasm and the excitement is when you see a journey through. So Nitish, if we were to do some kind of sky gazing, what would you think your goals are when Azara is concerned? Maybe in the next 1 year, 2 year, 5 year horizon.
For me personally, if you ask me, I think uh, because I've spent so much time pursuing this dream, that
Mhm.
gaming will at some point of time be big in India. I think my dream is just to, be there when it's really happening.
Yeah.
Make sure we are doing some good work,
Hmm.
and see where that takes us. See where that takes our team. Provides opportunities to the teams. Provides millions of consumers. I think that's what we're trying to do. We don't have, you know, uh, that we want to be X amount of revenues or X amount of valuation and all. I think we're just following our dream and pursuing it as much as possible.
That's very, very inspiring, Nitish. And I think as a concluding question statement, I think if you had to do a mashup of all your favorite games, what is the game that you would play?
Uh, Mashup of favorite games. Off lately, I've been playing WCC, which is our own game. I'm not plugging. I like cricket, so I play it. It's not because it's my own game.
Absolutely.
Uh, yeah, um, I'm hoping to get a PS5 soon. So I'm going to try out
Mhm.
what are the new games on the PS5 once it comes in. It's not released in India yet.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's so many games. Of course, for me, it's also work, right? So now I don't know whether the lines get blurred sometimes. When I download a game, whether it's for fun or for business, because you always
Mhm.
start looking at how is this game monetizing, and your mind starts working on the
Absolutely.
business side of it. Yeah.
So, which is your favorite game then? Something that actually makes you forget about business? Is there something like that?
I'll be honest, not anymore. I
Not
mean,
anymore.
I used to play a lot of. I used to be a lot more engaged myself in playing
Mhm.
games earlier. Now my iPad and my phone are all captive by my kids, so it's more important what is their favorite game. But that's only what what gets played.
Absolutely. I think with kids, that is a given that you have to play their favorite game. So I think, Nitish, this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you for taking time out for us. If you could share some insights or concluding advice for our startup founders who are logged in here.
Sure, I think one thing I learned, or what has worked for us, is we've focused a lot on the positive. And when I say
Mhm.
positive, I mean things like, we've had very litigation history over 20 years. We try to solve problems. They of course occur with partners, vendors, etc. We try to solve problems across a cup of tea. So the focus has always been that be positive, be very careful on terms of statutory compliances. In a country like India now, it's not a banana republic anymore, and these compliances are very important, and there are many. And for startups, sometimes it's very easy to be careless about them. Nobody has an intent not to comply, but among everything else, it gets left behind. So that takes away a lot of bandwidth at a later stage.
Right.
I was fortunate that we got, when we raised initial capital from Westbridge Capital in 2005, Westbridge advised me, and we were a very small company that time, 5-10 people, barely any revenues, to bring in ENY as an auditor.
Okay.
And I spoke to Sandeep, the partner over there, and said, I don't understand why I need to do this ENY stuff,
Right.
because one, it costs me so much. It's your
Mhm.
money that is going, which you have put in, and every year audit 2 months, I had to personally sit with the ENY guys, trying to explain
Right.
everything to them.
Mhm.
So I think the what he told me was, that what you will invest today in getting the right practices, right governance, etc., etc., will really help you in the later years as you grow as a company. And I think that has happened because we had ENY for 10 years. Now we have GT. Uh, working with top auditors, understanding better processes has helped us a lot as we are trying to go public now. Our books are in far better shape. We understand uh, those aspects of running it. So I think better processes, better transparency, these are the basic things. Again, all very stereotype stuff that I'm saying, but I truly believe in it, so I'm saying it.
It's very, very important, Nitish. I would not undermine the importance of these processes at all. And
Yeah.
they're very, very, it's very sound advice for the young founders who are listening, that you have to be very, very sure of the basics. So I think with this, Nitish, we have probably run out of time. It's been great having you here on the MA platform. And on behalf of the network, I wish you the very best for your upcoming IPO as well, and also for Nazara as a company. And we look forward to seeing you in person at one of our events. Thank you for your time.
So, my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 So, with this, I'm sure the audience has gotten a deeper understanding of various aspects of online gaming with the time that Nitish has spent with us. I would like to take a moment to mention our powered by sponsor for this event, Godspeed Games. Thank you, Ranbir from Team Godspeed Games.